Do we need to worry about you?
What's the move when you don't know what the game is?
The next mistake our countries make could be the last one.
Bridge of Spies is directed by Steven Spielberg and it stars Tom Hanks, Mark Rylance, and Alan Alda. This film takes place during the Cold War and it's about an insurance salesman named James B. Donovan. And he's assigned by the CIA to defend this communist spy who was captured, and they believe that he was a spy sent from Soviet Russia. And he's ostracized by the nation. Everybody calls him a traitor, but Tom Hanks' character sees him as just a good soldier and doing his job. But again, Tom Hanks has to defend him because the CIA assigned him and he's his lawyer. And all the while, the country is asking him, why are you defending this traitor? But Tom Hanks just sees that everyone deserves their trial. But that's only the first half of this film. The other half of this film is them negotiating this spy for one of our spies. Because one of our spies got captured on their side, so we're trying to negotiate the switch between the two of them. Now, since 95% of this movie is just talking and negotiations, this movie would be really, really boring if there wasn't some interesting dialogue. Thank God it was written by the Coen brothers. This movie is so much funnier than I had anticipated. I was laughing consistently throughout the entire movie, and when I left, I didn't even know that it was written by the Coen brothers. I had found this out later, and I wasn't surprised at all. This movie has a lot of the same kind of humor that the Coen brothers movies have. It's kind of like a dark humor with some quips and some sarcasm that is really unique in the Coen brothers movies. As I stated previously, this movie is fabulously directed by Steven Spielberg. The cinematography in this movie is absolutely incredible, and if you've seen Minority Report, how everything is really oversaturized and the white spots are really bright and the black spots are really dark, you can see what I mean when I say, when I watched this movie, I could tell that that was a Steven Spielberg movie. I'm hoping this movie gets a shot for Best Directing or Best Cinematography. I would be happy with either of those. But there are several scenes in this movie where they're having this dialogue, and the scenes are really long shots. And I'm not saying they're all one take, but they're these really long shots, and then they'll cut to another really long shot. Not only are there long takes in this movie, but there's several artsy shots that I really appreciated. Like there's this one shot where it's after the ruling has been made for what happens to the spy, and Tom Hanks' character walks out of the courtroom and everybody's taking pictures of him, but then as the spy comes out, everybody leaves Tom Hanks to start taking pictures of him, and the pans to their feet, and after they're leaving from Tom Hanks, you see all these light bulbs from all the pictures that they had been taking that you have to unscrew, and they just threw them on the ground and they're all stepping on it. It's a really awesome shot, and I just really appreciated it, and it really stuck out to me. As I said before, this movie has a very similar cinematography tone to Minority Report, and that's because the cinematographer in this movie is the same in Minority Report. I'm not going to attempt to pronounce his name because I don't know how to say it, so it's going to be down here. Sorry, sir. You're very good at your job, and I liked your work in this movie. But sadly, that's the only thing in this movie that made me go, oh, that's a Spielberg movie. Now, Spielberg's direction is absolutely brilliant in this movie, and I am really confident that he's at least going to get an Oscar nod. But there's nothing in this movie that really stood out in Spielberg's filmography. I feel like this one's going to get lost. And I think it's because there's not a lot in this movie that I immediately recognize that it's Spielberg. But that's not to say that he did a really good job. I thought he did a fabulous job, and I say that I hope that he gets an Oscar nod. Performances are all fabulous across all boards. Tom Hanks is great again. He's extremely likable, and from the second you meet him, you're extremely attached to him. It opens his character up when he's having this conversation with another insurance lawyer, and they're having this kind of just banter between the two, and one saying that his guy hit all of these motorcycles, and they're talking about like how they're like bowling pins and stuff, and it's just really funny. You probably don't know what I'm talking about because you haven't seen it, or if you have seen it, you'll know what I'm talking about. But it's a great opening monologue, and it really gets us introduced to the character well. As I said earlier, Mark Rylance is in this movie, and he plays the spy. Now, you think with a character like a Russian spy who's ultimately planning the downfall of America, you would really hate this character. But I gotta tell you guys, I loved his character. He was extremely likable. He's just kind of a adorable old man. Like, his character is so laid back and so relaxed. There's several points in this movie where Tom Hanks is like, "Are you worried?" And he's like, "Would it help?" I immediately attached to this character. And I think that's a great job of making him not seem like a bad guy, and it's wanting you to be attached to him so you'll kind of root for Tom Hanks and him as a team. I'm hoping that Mark Rylance will get an Oscar nod for this movie because his character is so likable. Every line he says is perfect. There wasn't one line where I was like, a little shaky there. My biggest problem with this movie is probably its pacing. The first act, as I said earlier, is Tom Hanks trying to defend the spy, and then the second act is them trying to get our spy back. And the first act is far more interesting than the second act. And there's the span between the first act and the climax, and it really just drags. It's not super boring, but it's not near as exciting as the first act or the climax. And the rewatch value for me isn't very high. I don't see myself just popping in Bridge of Spies. But I highly recommend seeing it. It's a very good film, and I would say that it's not for everybody. If you just go to the movies to be merely entertained, then I don't know if this is the movie for you. But if you go to movies and really listen to what they say and pay attention to the dialogues and you want to learn something, then this is a perfect movie for you to go see. But due to its incredible performances and superb directing, I'm going to give Bridge of Spies an 8 out of 10. Thanks for watching, guys. I really do appreciate it. And make sure you click the link down below and subscribe to my channels to see more movie reviews and movie-related things. Again, guys, thanks so much, and see you next time.